the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
Welcome back to the AV Profession, the show by and about AV professionals. I am your host, Taylor Ryan Moore, and joining us today is a special guest. Julie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Ann Loy. I'm a senior consultant at CIBC.
Hello, and welcome to the show, Julie. So my favorite part of the show, as we've done with all the other episodes, is I like to ask an icebreaker questions to sort of set the mood. We're now in the season where we're past spooky season. We're past Halloween season. We're into November. When is it the appropriate time to play Christmas music? Are you a November 1st? Christmas music playlist is going? Or are you like, we gotta wait, let Turkey Day have its day?
Well, I'm actually up in Toronto, Canada, so our Thanksgiving happens in mid-October.
Oh, okay.
And also, part of this reasoning, I'm Filipino, and Filipinos start celebrating Christmas in September, traditionally.
Oh.
So after October 31st, November 1st, Christmas music is on, Christmas tree is up. I'll say that I am a little late on getting to that, but, to each their own. For me, I love the Christmas time. I love it because we get to spend time with family and friends and really get together and catch up on things that we might not talk about in our day-to-day.
Right. I just moved down here to St. Louis like a year ago, and Christmas is one of my favorite times. And since I was like new to my apartment, didn't have a lot of furniture, I was like, I don't have any like Christmas related things, so I can't really get into the Christmas spirit. But now that I'm like settled, established, and once I go back home for Thanksgiving, I'm taking as much as the Christmas decorations and just throwing it up in my house. But if I had it my way, Christmas tree be up, music's playing, I'm in the holly jolly spirit.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite Christmas song?
Ooh, that's hard. The first song that comes to mind is Believe from the Polar Express, so I will say that's one of my favorite Christmas songs.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that.
What about you?
It's got to be Mariah Carey. All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's a banger. And apparently she's doing a concert all around that this year. So
it's her season. It's her time. She's ready to unthaw and ready to... All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Absolutely.
I wish we could talk about Christmas music this entire episode, but we got to talk about our other favorite thing that we love is the AV industry. So before we jump into that, why don't you give us a little background of like how, before you got to the AV industry, where did it all kind of start?
For sure. So growing up in a Filipino household or in any kind of immigrant community, there is this underlying pressure to perform and excel and do your best. So it can be taken in either way. I chose academics because for me, gym was the worst subject I could ever have. I hate running. If I'm in a zombie apocalypse, I'm probably going to be the first one to go.
No saying.
So throughout my academic career, I thought, okay, I'm going to strive to be the best and I'm going to try for dermatology. And there was a really good school locally at the University of Waterloo, specifically for dermatology. So I applied for the biomedical sciences degree, thought, okay, 4 years undergrad, 2 years dermatology, and then bam, I'm set. Little did I know at 18, 6 years is actually a really long time, and it might not work out. And actually that's what happened. In 2010, it was a pivotal year. I decided to leave. I didn't have a plan. I moved back. Let's say my parents weren't too happy, but I'll pay respects to them because they forced me to look at their alma mater, Mohawk College, and their engineering department was actually well known for teaching children about technology and giving them that opportunity through their co-op program. So eventually I got accepted to computer engineering technology at Mohawk College and took a few courses, and I'll be honest, I loved it. The teaching style there was much more in line with my learning style compared to at the university.
So what kind of drew you to computer science? What was the appeal of it for you?
The appeal was looking at my parents and how angry they were at me, and I said, okay, look, I'm good with computers. I was pretty savvy at it in high school. So why don't I just start with this? And it's also, in line with what they wanted me to do. It would lead to a solid career at some point, wherever it's going to land, right? And I didn't think I was going to be good at it in the beginning. But after taking a few courses, I realized this is for me. I never thought it would be.
Nice. So after you graduated college, you got your computer science degree. Was the goal to join the AV industry right out of college, or was there like a buffer in between and then you joined? Like what happened after you got the computer science degree?
Yeah, so actually during my time in college, there were co-op opportunities, and I got a travel bug through one of those opportunities. I was driving all over the province with the Ministry of Transportation, and I got to explore the province in a different way that I wouldn't have been able to, right? I was essentially paid to travel, and after college, the only thing I could think about is finding some kind of opportunity that would let me travel, but also still apply because I don't want this to go to waste.
Right.
And eventually I found a job opening at Evertz Microsystems. They were looking for an entry-level field service engineer. I didn't know what that meant, but there was 50% travel, so I applied.
That's fun. And what was that sort of day-to-day like? What was your job? What did your job sort of look like on a day-to-day basis when you started working there?
At Evertz, I started off on their broadcast side. So for my first 3 months, really what it was learning about their master clocks, because that's where they got started in. So they would hand me a box. It literally looks like a pizza box. And they said, okay, figure it out. Figure out how it works. Great.
Solid.
Great. Awesome.
Right.
Absolutely fine, right? Not scary at all. But
Right.
After those 3 months, I really got to understand how their technology works in the master clock field. And I then got moved into the AV department, which was brand new because of my results in my interview. I actually performed best on the networking questions that they asked me.
Nice.
And in AV, at the time, AV over IP was booming. So they needed somebody strong in the network field.
And I noticed with some people that I've interviewed doing this, that sometimes like their college degree sort of helped them in the AV industry. Sometimes it didn't. Did you think your computer science degree kind of helped with that transition of starting to work at Evertz, or did you have to do like any other additional learning as well? And if so, what like tools did you utilize?
It absolutely helped me in the best way possible. I didn't know I could apply it to what I was learning at Evertz. So again, when I joined the AV department, it was pick up a box, learn how it worked. And because of those fundamentals in the computer engineering degree, they teach you about hardware. They teach you about electrical engineering and all of the signal flow. Even DSPs to a certain extent, not specifically audio, but really how that works. And on top of that, they teach you programming. They teach you networking. It was really just a toolbox of things you could use and apply to many different fields. If I wanted to, I could go into a technical school, but I chose Evertz.
Nice. So I did, as with most guests, went through your LinkedIn and saw that you went from, what do I have down here? Like a regular, not regular, but like an engineer to now a senior consultant for CIBC. So I guess what does your new role now look like compared to what you did before?
Yeah, so before, my role was very flexible. So week after week, it would be very different. I could be in the office and doing some project preparation, right? And being forced into different situations like lab testing, R&D. And then the next week I could be flying out to Atlanta or DC or wherever in the States to actually commission a project and bring it to the finish line, right? So I didn't know where my life was going at Evertz, I'll say, for the 4 years I was there. But with CIBC, it's very stationary and very grounded. You know what your role is, and you know that your day-to-day is going to be pretty similar. So here at CIBC, now that I'm a senior consultant, really it's focused on maintaining relationships and meeting with the people to make sure that your plan and your design meets their expectations. Back at Evertz, while you did do some of that, your focus was really about troubleshooting and making it work. A lot of people in the AV industry are about making it work. And moving over to the corporate side, you can still do that, but you need to do it in a more sophisticated way, a more toned down way, and be able to articulate your technical skills in layman's terms.
Mm-hmm. Do you sort of miss having like the flexibility of not knowing what your job may look like and send you out to different places? Or do you sort of like having the stationary, I know what my day-to-day looks like, I know what I get to expect, everything's in order? Like, do you have one that you preference more than the other?
Yeah, you know what? So back when I was at Evertz, I was mid-20s, and back then it was great to not really have a plan and just be able to be fluid. Now that I've moved into my 30s, I do prefer to have a plan, at the very least, so I can, plan out my day, and I also have that disconnect from work and play. Back with Evertz, it was very much all combined into one. You didn't really have that distinction. So while it was fun, it was very, very taxing on the body. Working at CIBC now, I can take some time for my mental health. I can also take some time for my family and friends and actually attend their birthdays and see see how they've grown, and get to establish more deeper relationships rather than, hey, I'm here for a week, let's go have a drink. Right?
Right. I guess one of the things as I found doing this podcast is sort of wondering how people get connected and get networked with other people who do sort of like the same thing in like the AV industry. Like the AV industry is so big, and not like, well, every industry is so big, and like so many people do so many different jobs. And so how have you tried to found ways to like network with all the other like AV tweeps and people? Was there like a trade show or conference that you went to, or was there you just meeting people? Like, how did the networking with other people in the industry sort of come about?
Yeah. So when I was traveling a lot, I did have the opportunity to meet a lot of people in the industry because we were all working towards one goal, right? So I would meet the restaurant programmers on site, I'd meet the integrators and the design engineers. But let's say I didn't have that experience, and how would I go about doing it now? Personally, I really like raving, and I'm very chatty. So a lot of the time I would approach the mix box and just start chatting up the generally guys that are in there. Most of the time they look bored because all they have to do is just make sure that the lights are on and the music is equalized, and you're good.
Right.
It's a set it and forget it. And you can really have some nice conversations with these guys about how they got into the industry and what their goals are, and if they really like the live event space or if they want to move. Otherwise, AVIXA has a really good opportunity for women in tech in particular to come together during the Women's Council, albeit you don't have to be a woman to join the Women's Council, but it is an opportunity for you to meet other women in tech and share your experiences.
How important is it to have spaces like that in the AV industry?
Very. I will say, from my career in technology, starting from college, I was probably the only girl throughout my entire career. So in a group of 60 college boys, there was only one girl that made it through. At Evertz, I was the first girl in the AV department. Right? Although it was small, I'm still the first girl. A lot of times when I traveled, I was the only girl that was on site, full of, all of these construction men and people that are pulling wires, and they saw this girl in heels and a skirt, and they're thinking, why is she here? But, you get to show your chops a little bit when you show up and you know what you're talking about, and you know that you can kind of go in the ring and go to bat with all of these people that have been in the industry. And not seeing a lot of women in the industry and having that space is really empowering, because sharing those experiences and also sharing different tacks of how you can handle certain situations that may be a little bit jarring when you first come around them, right? I remember meeting a lovely lady named Heather Best, who I see as my mentor. And she is a fantastic salesperson, but also very technical. And she was able to show me different methods and ways of articulating and speaking, especially in the corporate space, with our lines of businesses, and making sure that they understand we're there for them. We understand their technology and their wants and needs.
Nice. And I know you mentioned Heather as like a mentor, and we had another guest on another episode talking about how important mentors are in the AV industry. How has your sort of mentor, I guess, aided you in navigating the space?
Yeah, so she really led by example, or leads by example. And, you know, she's very involved with AVNation and the Women's Council. She's also just very extroverted, which I also relate to. Wherever she goes, you know, it's just, she's very kind to everybody around her. And I love that energy, and I love to emulate that as well. But when we get into the ring with technical people, you know, I can see how strong she is and how she exerts her voice and exerts that dominance. And generally, she always has the last word. And that last word is really key in a room full of men, because you are going to be remembered. I will say that I have had other mentors as well, as in particular in the diversity and inclusion space. And he has helped me realize, you know, how important it is to always talk about that and make it not so much about a policy, but about a habit. Make it part of your daily life.
I guess in this industry, like, it's getting, as far as I'm seeing, it's getting more and more diverse and more mixed and more blended. But how can we as an industry sort of bring more diverse voices into this space? Like, what would that sort of look like?
That's a great question. It's always such a difficult area to talk about, because while people say, you know, diversity and inclusion is great, it does cause segregation. So in our industry, a lot of people will notice that it generally is full of older gentlemen that are Caucasian, and there isn't a lot of diversity within that age group. However, in the younger space, we are seeing a lot of, you know, females, people of color, people of different gender, and it's beautiful. But to your question, how do we promote it and how do we make it more inclusive? I think we need to do a better job at marketing ourselves. One, nobody really knows about the AV industry, and you don't know about it through school, right? A lot of the broadcast programs that I've seen are discontinued in a lot of Canadian schools. So through the education system, it's a no-go. I think that we could do a better job in social media, actually, not just keeping it to LinkedIn and Twitter, but even making shorts like TikTok and Instagram, right? Our industry is so cool.
Yeah.
We branch out to live events. Like, live events is the most flashy piece of AV. And who doesn't want to, like, work on a concert or, you know, potentially meet somebody really awesome.
Right. Like, you could be like a whole tech manager for like some famous musician on tour. Like, the industry's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, one of my first projects, I didn't realize what it was until I got there. So it was for Turner in Atlanta, and it was actually for the green room of the NBA halftime show. And I got to meet the four guys, at the end of the project. You know, Shaq's hand is bigger than my face, and it was absolutely insane to meet them. And also to understand what their quirks are and what their wants and needs are for the green room, right?
Yeah.
At the time, I think it was Blacklist was the popular show, and that was what Charles Barkley wanted on the TV all the time. So we programmed it to be that way. And just seeing that, right, it's very cool.
I remember when I was in college and I was doing my journalism degree, they were like made it very important that like you got to join some, you know, some clubs and whatnot. And so I joined like the National Association of Black Journalists. Like I was in it, but like I'm not gonna say I was like fully invested, but like I was in the program, and I see the importance of like having spaces like that of like other Black journalists going through this and having the space to share their experiences. So I think having organizations like that and better marketing, better social media, better branding, I think would bring in more different voices and more wide range of like experiences and stories into this space that I think would be, you know, very vital.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right now there isn't really an organization that does it well on TikTok and Instagram. But, you know, if you go back to your employer, you, the viewers, and even myself, and talk about these things, maybe they have budget for it and they have a team for it and they can listen and you can help gain that momentum. You may be the leader of the project, who knows, but it's a great opportunity. And I think that's the best thing about this industry is that there is so much opportunity. It's so vast. So you can really make a career in this industry your own.
Exactly. Thank you again for joining me on today's show. We are going to wrap up here. My final question that I ask a lot of our guests is, you know, for someone who's looking to join the industry, someone who's hesitant to step their toe in, someone who like just doesn't know what their life path is and want to join the space, this AV industry, this space, what advice would you give them before joining?
This may be dated, but have you ever seen the animated show, The Magic School Bus?
Of course.
So there's the character in that show named Miss Frizzle, and she has this catchphrase where she says, "Take chances, make mistakes, get messy," or "Take chances, get messy, make mistakes," something like that.
Oh, I got you.
And I think that phrase in itself is so true in this industry, especially for people that are starting out. Don't be afraid to make those mistakes. Mm-hmm. Although it is easy for me to say that, I'll give you an example of mistakes that I've made and where I've just been absolutely mortified. But through those experiences, I've become the person that I am today, right? So back in 2018, I was doing a job at Harvard Business School, and this job was taking different pieces of their campus and combining them so they could have cross-campus AV distribution. Mm-hmm. So we were installing this large fiber core, and during that process, I decided to reboot the fiber core because I thought it was fine. Lo and behold, it wasn't fine, and somebody was actually using one of the spaces for a event, and they were filming. So they lost 20 minutes of footage.
Oh, no.
And that was absolutely mortifying for me. However, you know, at the end of the day, my team had my back. The footage that was lost actually was negligible to the producer, and the end client themselves, they understood that, you know, these things happen. Mm-hmm. So after that, you know, I learned not to reboot things without checking with people first, but right. It's one of those lessons where if you don't do it and you don't make that mistake, you won't know.
Exactly. That's good advice. It's okay to make mistakes and make messes. We're all human, not expected to be perfect. So good. Thank you again for joining us on the show. If people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Absolutely. So you can get in touch with me through LinkedIn. My name is Julie Ann Loy, or on Instagram. I actually am promoting a lot of AV stuff on my Instagram. That's JLoyTravel.
All right. And thank you everyone for listening to another episode of the AV Profession. You can follow me on Twitter at _Taylor Moore. That's 2_ Taylor Moore. For more shows like this, you can head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. And for more AV news and podcasts like this, head over to our website at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Julie, thank you again for joining us.